The mystery of the old mansion. It was a stormy night when Lisa and her friends, Tom and Sarah, decided to explore the old mansion on the outskirts of town. The house had been abandoned for decades and was surrounded by countless rumors and stories. Some said it was cursed, others claimed it was the site of strange occurrences. But for the three friends, it was the perfect opportunity for an adventure. Armed with flashlights and bundled up warmly, they set off. The wind howled through the trees, and the rain incessantly beat down on their raincoats. The path to the mansion was overgrown and hard to recognize, but finally, they stood before the imposing building. It was large and majestic, though time had clearly taken its toll. Windows were broken, and the roof had collapsed in several places. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Sarah asked hesitantly, looking up at the dark windows. "Of course, this will be great fun. Besides, what could happen?" Tom replied with a smile that betrayed his own uncertainty. Lisa nodded determinedly. "Let's go inside. We need to find out if the stories are true." They cautiously opened the creaking front door and stepped into the foyer. The smell of damp wood and mold filled the air. Their flashlights cast long shadows on the walls, revealing cobwebs that hung like ghostly threads from the ceiling. A large chandelier hung crookedly from the ceiling, and the floor was covered in a thick layer of dust. "It looks like no one has been here for years," Lisa whispered as she looked around. They moved further into the house, passing old furniture covered with white sheets. A large portrait hung on the wall, depicting a stern man in Victorian clothing. His eyes seemed to follow them wherever they went. "I heard that's old Lord Hamilton," Tom said, pointing at the painting. "They say he hid a treasure here before he vanished without a trace." Sarah swallowed nervously. "A treasure? I thought we were here for the ghosts." "Maybe there's both," Lisa replied with a grin. They searched the ground floor and found nothing but decaying furniture and dusty books. Eventually, they came across a hidden staircase leading to the basement. A cold draft hit them as they opened the door. "Come on, let's go down," Tom said, leading the group down the creaky steps. The basement was even gloomier than the rest of the house. The air was damp and cold, and the floor was uneven. They found old wine racks and broken barrels, but then they discovered a heavy wooden door at the end of the corridor. "What do you think is behind it?" Sarah whispered. "Only one way to find out," Lisa replied, placing her hand on the door. She carefully opened it, and to their surprise, another staircase led even further down. "This must be the secret cellar," Tom whispered excitedly. "This is where the treasure is supposed to be." They descended the steps and soon found themselves in a large room. In the center of the room was an old chest secured with heavy iron bands. "We found it!" Tom shouted, rushing to the chest. But as he tried to open it, a loud creak echoed, and the door behind them slammed shut. A gust of icy wind made their candles flicker, and suddenly they were enveloped in deep darkness. "What was that?" Sarah asked in panic. Lisa tried to reopen the door, but it was firmly shut. "We're trapped." "Calm down, don't panic," Tom said, relighting his flashlight. "We need to find another way out." Suddenly, they heard a soft whisper coming from the shadows. The voices were barely audible but sounded tormented and eerie. "Who's there?" Lisa shouted into the darkness. The whispering stopped, and for a moment, there was complete silence. Then they heard footsteps approaching. Their flashlights revealed a figure slowly coming towards them. It was an old man in Victorian clothing, with piercing eyes and a grim expression. "You have found my treasure," he said in a deep, resonant voice. "But you will not take it with you." "Who are you?" Tom asked, trying not to tremble. "I am Lord Hamilton," the man replied. "And this is my domain. You are not welcome." Lisa stepped forward. "We just wanted to find out the truth about this house. We mean no harm." Lord Hamilton smiled darkly. "The truth? The truth is that I am forever trapped here in the darkness. And now you are too." With these words, he disappeared, and the whispering returned, louder and more intense than before. The walls seemed to move, and the room grew colder. The friends huddled closer together, unsure of what would happen next. Suddenly, they heard a crash, and part of the wall collapsed, revealing a hidden passage. Without hesitation, they ran through it and found themselves in a long tunnel. They ran as fast as they could, leaving the whispers and footsteps behind. After a while, they saw light at the end of the tunnel. They reached a heavy metal door, which opened with a strong push. They stepped outside and found themselves in the woods behind the mansion. The storm had passed, and the moon shone brightly in the sky. "We made it!" Sarah shouted in relief. "Yes, but what was that?" Tom asked, out of breath. "I don't know," Lisa replied. "But one thing is certain, this house holds secrets that are best left undiscovered." They looked back at the mansion, which now lay quiet and deserted. The friends knew they would never set foot in that cursed house again. But the adventure would forever remain in their memories, and the stories about the old mansion would live on, warning other curious souls.